brilliant people. So today I'm going to talk to you about the future. Specifically, I'm going to talk to you about your future and whether or not you are actually going to arrive at your future by default or by design. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, essentially, when we have a default position, it means that, well, if we're not thinking about it, that's just what tends to happen. So, in other words, I don't know, you might have an alarm set on your phone, and if you don't change it, the same alarm will go off at the same time every day. So that would be your kind of like default alarm. And so then if you wanted to have a different time on your alarm clock, you would have to have that by design. So you would actually have to be a bit more conscious about it, go into it and change it. So that's the same thing with your future. You see, the thing is, our future, whether we're conscious of it or not, we actually create our future with not just by doing big, shiny things, but with every single little choice that we make. And that's the problem. Because so many of the choices that we make, we tend to make kind of by default, by which I mean we tend to make the same choices all the time. For example, if you have a favorite restaurant, do you always order the same thing? I have a favorite cafe, and yes, more often than not, I will order the same thing. But when they have specials, because I always check the specials board, sometimes I will order the specials. So I will actually have my lunch that's a little bit more designed, if you like. Now, it's just lunch, who cares? But the thing is, there are many, many decisions that we're making in life by default. You know, for example, we may be sitting in a job or in a relationship that, because it's uncomfortable to change it, even if it's going to be a positive change, we may just keep going along the way that we've always been going. And so that means by default, we just end up where we've always been going. We end up, 10 years down the track, we're in the same kind of job, even if we haven't really quite got the promotions or the opportunities that we were really hoping that we would get, but maybe we would have had to have changed jobs to get it. Same thing with some relationships, of course. And I don't just mean intimate relationships. I mean relationships with the people that, with your friends, with your work colleagues, so all of these things, are we just doing it because it's familiar and it's comfortable and it doesn't take any energy to keep doing the same thing? Or are we thinking about, is this kind of default future that I'm heading towards, do I want to change that and have a future that is actually there by design? Because unfortunately, it is much easier to have a default future. It's much, much easier because it doesn't take any energy. It's the same thing as it's much easier to sit on the couch and eat chips or ice cream or whatever, than it is to get up and go for a run. Or if you are the kind of person who always gets up and goes for a run, maybe for you, the difficulty would be then to stop and do a meditation, whatever it is. I mean, somebody once said that, if you want to be on the path to personal growth, all you need to do is clean your teeth with your other hand. Well, I'm not necessarily saying you have to do that, but you understand the purpose of why they said that. It's like, because by doing that, you're making a more conscious choice, which gives you the opportunity of having a future by design. Now, if you think about it, that is what our intuition is trying to help us do. It's trying to help us have a designed future, not a default future, because a designed future does include a lot of expansion, a lot of personal growth and achieving more abundance and opportunities. But, and there is a bit of a but there, the thing is that in order for us to become who we truly are, we've got to give up who we're not. In other words, if we want to have this future that we're designing for ourselves, we're going to have to give up the default future, which means that at times we're going to have to accept that it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable. Now, we can do it at our own pace. We don't have to change everything at once, but that is what the cost is, or the price is, or the exchange is that if we're going to have this design future, we need to give up the default future and the comfort of not actually always choosing the same thing. So there you are. If you do that, and of course, if you change something and then you don't like it, you don't have to do it again. But that's the whole point, is to do the work so that you can consciously make choices that actually work for you and work for you constantly. So, they talk about positive incremental changes, like every day, just a little bit better, a little bit better, so making those choices at a pace, changing things so that your life starts to fit more and more, little bit by little bit, the design that you want to have for it, rather than just settling for whatever default future you're headed for. Because unfortunately, for most of us, that default future does not include us and our brilliance, but our design future does. So that's what I hope that you're going for, is for your design future. So until next time, remember that you're brilliant.